everybody. Chris Wharton here, and I'm glad to have you on this edition of Marketing Monday. I'll talk about one of my favorite topics. So, to kind of give you a little background on me, I joined Bill nearly 7 years ago, actually as a videographer and photographer. I have a Bachelor of Science in Film, Master of Science in Entertainment Business, and my background as a photographer, professional videographer, photographer, goes back since the early kind of mid 2000s when I graduated high school. I went to college. So I have a deep background in high-end video production, music videos, special effects, visual effects, all of that fun stuff, but also photography. And so it's one of those passions I have. It's one of those things that's lacking in this industry. And I want to highlight some properties. I'm going to show you, kind of walk you through some of the photos, some of the different parts and pieces of it, some of the things that we focus on, some of the things that we ask our photographers to do, or I do when I photograph the properties, and kind of walk through all of that for you guys. And so if you have any questions, please pop in the chat. Don't be afraid to stop me along the way. I want to go through some of these properties. I'm going to show you some things. I'm going to pop my screen up here. Move my head around. There we go. So we're going to go through 4 different properties today. I'm going to show you one kind of before and after picture just to show you the difference of how much a photo can make a difference to a particular property, especially when it's the cover photo. So this one is actually in Gulf Shores. It's going to be lake, mountain, a couple different variations of properties here. And I'm only going to focus on photos right now. And a few things I want to highlight just for y'all, just so you know as you're photographing things. The way that Airbnb likes to lay out photos, for example, it really likes to have the photos be in some form of horizontal. Meaning, I'm going to change my microphone. That'll probably sound much better for you guys. There we go. It probably sounds way better now. Meaning that Facebook or Airbnb really likes photos to be in horizontal. They don't really like vertical photos. They don't show very well inside the way that Airbnb likes to lay this out, which on desktop is a larger photo, 2 smaller photos, larger photo, 2 smaller photos. Unless you have room set up, which again, we're not a huge fan of that. And so really trying to keep photos in this aspect ratio, which I want to get super nerdy into that. But yes, Anthony, 4:3 is the very common photography aspect ratio. So they're not fully vertical. It's also a reason why a lot of people want to take pictures with their phone as like temporary pictures. They're much wider because phones a lot of times default to 16:9 or the super wide aspect ratio that we see like on TV shows and our televisions are shaped like. So just keeping sure things in the right aspect ratio. But I want to highlight a few things along the way. So we're going to go through the first 5. First one, obviously exterior. In a beach market, it really helps to have the exterior it looking good. Obviously, you're really close to these other 2 houses over here. That's very common for this area. This gets you kind of an idea of the size of this property. But very quickly, we want to get out and get into kind of the unique separators of a property. And so, for example, this property has a pool in it. Obviously, not as fancy as Dragonfly, which I think I pulled up. I may not have pulled Dragonfly up. Dragonfly that has the cabanas in the back. There's just not the space for them at this particular property. But you want to show off what's unique. This is a separator in this market. Properties with pools outperform properties without pools, whether they're beachfront or in this case second tier, which is actually the next photo to show you exactly where this property is. So you get an idea. When you say almost beachfront, what does that mean? Well, you're literally right across the road. There's easy access in certain areas. But you get an idea of kind of what's happening. You kind of see how common pools are in this particular area as well. Brent, to answer your question real quick. So as of right now, there isn't just like a reverse button. There's no switching it back to normal. But a workaround that some people have been using is putting all the photos into one room or one category. And that way you have control of the order they're shown in. I understand the reasoning behind what Airbnb is trying to do with the rooms, meaning that they want it to help people categorize things, people are able to find certain things they're interested in quicker, that kind of stuff. But what it does is it eliminates our ability to tell the story of really shaping the first photos or how someone walks through the property. And so there's a trade-off, right? I'd rather have the ability to tell the story and just have everything in one room, quote unquote, than have the ability to show the rooms and just put photos in a really weird order. So we kind of keep going. This is one of the first things I want to talk about. That's staging. So our goal with the photos and with the descriptions and with everything we're doing is to get someone to feel like they are at that property. So like this is a perfect example with a little bit of staging. This isn't super fancy, and usually this is simple stuff you can pick up from a grocery store. So you're not getting some custom something crazy. It's just some quick sandwiches, sandwich platter, maybe some bread in a bowl, some fruit, that kind of stuff. Cut it up real quick and just stage it so it feels like, hey, if I was a family that was staying here and we cook dinner or lunch while we're getting ready and the kids are out by the pool, this is kind of the feeling you would get. So you want to create the feeling of someone experiencing the property or someone actually being there. And then we're gonna get inside, and there's multiple ways to take photos. There are multiple ways to kind of do this. My thought is we're trying to do an in-between of kind of telling a story and being emotional and trying to get people to connect with the property. But also your goal of this is to trying to get someone to see the property and make sure it meets their needs or what they're looking for in a property. So you want to highlight some things, you want to take some closer shots of things, add them in, but you also want to show the space as good as possible. Sometimes that means it's wider, so you're kind of seeing how the main living area, the kitchen, the dining, and then the living on the other side of this wall, how kind of this space connects. But also that you see little things here. There is the wine and charcuteries out. The placings are sat for people. We want to do these things because it separates and really makes someone feel like they're there. It's not just a blank table. It's not just a blank countertop. It's actually set up and ready for someone to stay. Kind of same thing. We always put something on the TVs. If you have things to put on tables, put them out, that kind of stuff. But again, just the room stage, and you're trying to show the connection. So to think no one's been there before. I actually was just shooting a property over the weekend. One of the properties that are still being finished up. They were literally the front yard and backyard are torn up. They were doing septic work on Friday, and I was there Saturday. But your goal is to connect the spaces. So if you've never been to the space before, if they haven't been to this property before, you want them to kind of get an idea or feeling of how the spaces connect to each other and then kind of the flow of the spaces. So these two are great examples of that, where you can kind of see how the kitchen, dining, living connect, and then on the opposite side, how the living connects to the dining, and then again, the kitchen on the other side. And there's just one of those, kind of closer, tighter shots of, okay, you see the living room, well, then here's a little tighter shot, slightly different angle where you kind of really see this is the seating area. Same thing for the kitchen. Well, you saw the kitchen before, but now you get a little bit tighter. You want to see the appliances. That's an important thing to highlight in there. Then the charcuterie, so it feels like a lived-in space, a little plant. Again, just kind of showing everything that's on and through dining. And then once you get into the bedrooms, there's lots of ways to do it. So there's things that I don't necessarily need to see. It's nice that you can include the TV. But really the point here is to kind of show the bed and the relation. If there's a view, that kind of thing. Honestly, you need to see this one has an ensuite, and then there's a hallway. I necessarily need to see all of that, but I'm trying to show or see as much of the room as possible. Bathrooms suck. As a photographer, a lot of them, they're tight, quote unquote, meaning that like you're not in a super wide space. There's not really an angle to be like, I'm going to put the camera in the corner or like get this whole bathroom, especially when you have walls, kind of hide showers and that kind of thing. Always try and avoid seeing the toilet as much as possible. There's nothing good looking about a toilet and toilet paper, but you're trying to show what's included in the amenities, kind of, hey, this bathroom has a shower, but no tub, that kind of thing. Again, we're trying to get people to envision what it's like to stay there. Does this property meet my needs? If I prefer, like me, I would prefer, a stand-up shower over a tub any day. But some people prefer actually having a full tub or have younger kids where they want to bathe, especially after a day out on the beach, that kind of thing. So, and that's a great way to do it. And Andrew, I totally agree that because the goal is to meet the kind of correct aspect ratio, a lot of times you can stitch two verticals together to make almost a horizontal photo out of that. So that's a great input, Andrew. And Anthony, I totally agree. Like most things, things roll out in phases, and so some companies get the feedback, make adjustments. Others, they're rolling it out just to see if the feature works, and if it does, then they just enforce it for everyone. So I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future we all have to have the ability to go back through. But again, things are made, beds are made, things look good. We're trying to show off the space, the design, the elements. You want the lighting kind of feel good, not too much ceiling, not too much floor. And your photographer will know all of these things. The best ones will capture the space as best as possible, make it as realistic as possible. Understanding, here's the key difference between our eyes and a camera, is our eyes are incredible machines. They take all this light, even in dark, even in really bright places. It's called dynamic range, how far we can see between dark and bright. And our eyes have this ability to see so much detail. And the brightest of brights and the darkest of darks, our eyes adjust like instantly. We see what's in focus when we look, but not when we look away. It's mind-blowing, and the cameras just aren't that good. And so a lot of times we take things like using flash or artificial light or other tricks to make a space look as good as it looks in real life, because it's just the camera just doesn't capture it in the same way. But it's making sure things look good. Bed staged, pillows are out, pillows are fluffed, things are placed in the right spot. And again, making sure if there is a view of views shown. So I kind of hit this property pretty hard, but you kind of get the idea. I'll just go through. I do love, so there's multiple ways to do this. I think some of the properties I'll show have different versions. This is a 3D version of a floor plan, which I really, really like. It's a really cool way to kind of show. Again, the goal is to get someone to feel like they're there. So if you have someone who has special or particular needs, you have certain elderly family members, you want people to be close to certain rooms, younger kids, older kids, that kind of thing. And this is a great way to know or visually be able to tell very quickly of main floor, here's the bedrooms, here's the bathroom, what's shared, what isn't shared. Same thing next floor, which bedrooms, which one have en suites, which ones don't, that kind of thing. So it's just a great way to toss those in. Our goal is to kind of show a little bit of everything. Sometimes we'll show more. We'll show actual individual drawers if that's important for that particular property or that particular market. Laundry room, nothing sexy about a laundry room, but some things we're showing are, hey, not only do we provide the laundry, but you have, the soap, the detergent, there's paper towels, there's toilet paper, there's extras of things that aren't always necessarily provided. So this is a different one. This is a condo, the only condo actually in the portfolio by Glacier National Park. Notice something a little different about the top photos. One's an exterior. It's great to always have a solid exterior. And usually, as Kenny and Bill say, exteriors of water, exteriors of the view perform very, very well as cover photos. But because this whole point of this property is it's super, super close to Glacier National Park, that's why you see in the top 5, 3 of them are actually photos in Glacier National Park. Bill and I have talked about this before. Best case scenario, you take the photos yourself, or your photographer does. That's not a standard thing, by the way, to send a photographer on a hiking day trip. This is one of those cases where it's probably better to find stock, and there's great places. Envato has them. If you just Google stock photos, just make sure you have the rights to use the stock photos, and that's why 3 of these photos are stock Glacier National Park photos. And then, it has a hot tub. That's kind of a unique thing for the condo. So showing that, and obviously what it looks like in the winter, it'd be great. Now you'll notice kind of a difference between this one is that there are times where the sun can be your friend or not your friend. And so a lot of times when photographers are photographing a space, they don't always get to pick the best possible time to be in a space. And depending on windows or what direction the home is facing, you might get light to come in certain ways. I actually prefer and really like it when there is light in a space. That kind of makes it feel more like, people are actually in it. But this is a great case of when Bill talks about why we invest so much in photography and why it's important to have different photography throughout the year, is that you'll notice the exterior, the kind of Glacier National Park photos are like now, where it's a little warmer, you'd be wearing shorts. Be nice outside, kind of green. But a lot of the photos are when the property was photographed or from the winter. Snow on the ground, snow in the mountains, that kind of thing. And so we really do need for this particular property the other seasons of the year. And we'll talk about that all the time. A lot of times we'll go photograph or have someone go photograph a property throughout different times of the year. So we have those options of photos to swap in and out as the year goes around. Joanna, how do you get the overhead bird's eye view? Are you talking the 3D rendering or are you talking like a photo overhead? Because the photo is just a drone. A 3D rendering, there's a couple ways to do that. Usually it's someone who specializes in making those types of renderings. You can send them, if you have the information like the actual floor plan, you can send that to them. If not, a lot of them can take it from the photos you have. You have the photos of all the spaces in that particular level, and then 3D render. Yeah, you can have the photos of all the spaces in that particular level. More information you give them, the more accurate it can be. Fiverr is a great place to find people who specialize in just 3D renderings of a particular floor plan. So that's one way to get that done. One of these properties has, I think, a 2D version of that as well. So I'll probably show that in a second. But there's Fiverr is a great place. If there's ever anything where you're like, how the heck does that get done, or how does that happen? Fiverr is usually a place to find someone who's able to do stuff like that. So again, we like to have towels out, things out, showing off the uniqueness of the property, what's included, amenities, that kind of thing, just to make it feel like it's a space where you can go into. And obviously showing off the uniqueness. This one has a game room in the garage. That's different than most properties in the area. So showing that off. And there's little things that you'll never be able to tell, like the floors are radiant heated throughout the entire property. But again, all the pictures are winter. And so this is one of those times where it'd be great to have more summer photos as well. But highlighting coffee, it's not just, the coffee maker. We have all the K-cups, all the sweeteners, the sugars, all the stuff you would need for it. Showing spaces. And this one is not quite as built out, meaning there isn't like the charcuterie and all the other stuff, but you kind of get a good feeling. And this one again has a different version or different style of 3D of kind of how the rooms or layers are laid out. So another property, this is Lodge 93 in Olney, Montana. And this one has one of the photos that's sometimes the hardest to get. There's actually a couple of them in here. And that's that twilight exterior photo. It's kind of the one that everyone wants. And basically what's happening is you're waiting for the interior light to kind of match how bright it is outside. And then you're able to take a really solid photo of the inside glowing. Outside has a great view. Usually the clouds look really good, or they get replaced. That's kind of a secret too of all photographers, is that a lot of times we'll replace skies and reflections and other things just to make it look good. It's not, there's a lot of I want to show a property as true as it can possibly be. And for any given property, you'll have nights where you have sunsets that are unbelievably stellar. You have nights where sunsets are kind of meh. And so you want to show the property in its best possible light, even if when we photographed, it wasn't that perfect night. And that's why we might Photoshop in a sky, some clouds, other things like that. But this one's a great example of a couple really solid exteriors showing the uniqueness of the property. We're trying to tell the story of the property. And one of the things here is, how many properties in Montana have a barrel sauna and a hot tub and a geodesic dome? Not that many. And so having all three kind of in the photo, but then also showing kind of where it is on the river, that kind of thing, and then obviously down the river and the view you actually get down the river, all is just incredible ways to show off the property. Again, kind of where it is on the river, where you are compared to your neighbors, that kind of thing. And then one thing you can tell, there's photos in different stages. And so for all properties, because we're continually doing enhancements, there's times where we'll have photos from different stages of when things were done. So like this photo was taken before the barrel sauna was installed and before the dome was installed. The dome's actually really, really recent. It's only like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But we're trying to show things like if there's a fire, have the fire. If you have toys like stand-up paddle boards or kayaks, put them out, put them on display. If you have games, put them on display. Just those little things can make such a huge difference of people going through. Now you're seeing newer photos because you have all of it, the sauna, the hot tub, and the dome in the background. you're really trying to show what it feels like. So this is one of those instances where nothing is perfect, meaning that there's actually a fire in the Canadian Rockies, or at the time when this photo was taken. And so, the long range view just isn't there compared to what it looked like in some of the other photos, like this one where you kind of see further away. Again, showing the uniqueness of the dome, putting things out to make it stage, a little charcuterie board, some probably juice because it's a little too light to be wine. But again, long range view, showing off the uniqueness of things, how the dome's connected, fire pit for the property. And inside, same thing, just making sure things are staged. You want to get the idea of where things are connected, spaces to spaces. But also don't forget to put in the highlights of, relaxing wine. There's that bar, the showing the actual table, not just a blank dining table, but a full, with all the chargers and the plates and everything. It's sat for people as it would be. And showing off how cool it is, where you can have dinner right here and boom, still look outside and see that incredible view and the uniqueness of, you have the milkshake bar, you have the dome in the background. There's lots of little things that can, highlight and show off a space. So here's the difference. I'm not sure why this photo is necessarily in here, but here's the difference of, it wasn't staged as well when this photo was taken. And so you have things like, look how different the table feels, for example. I'll back up one more so you can see the whole table. Look how different this table feels, where it's multiple glasses of wine, all the plates laid out. There's fruit, charcuterie, all the stuff laid. And then this one later on, how empty it feels in comparison when there's nothing on the counter and there's nothing kind of on the table. That's why we like to do it, but sometimes obviously things don't always happen the way you want them to happen. And so photos happen when you need to take them. And so don't always get to pick and choose. But again, showing spaces, you want to show as much of views as possible and the way things look outside. Bathrooms can always be challenging, but showing off the little amenities as well, things that make the space unique. So, but I really wanted to highlight one of the reasons we talk so much about photography, and it's actually this property. This is Elk Lodge. And this is one of those where, we really focus on photography a lot, but then after it changes to this particular property, where when we took it to another level. This property in 2023, earlier in the year, late 2022, was doing okay. Wasn't a bad property, wasn't an incredible property. It was kind of middle of the pack for the entire portfolio. And then we had photos redone. Photos before, again, weren't bad, but they weren't amazing. They're kind of middle of the road. And so I'll show you kind of a comparison. This was the exterior cover photo before. Not a bad photo. You show the fire, show the property. You have the hot tub up here. And then this is the new cover photo. It's so many little things. It's a better angle of the property and the fire pit. The hot tub's open and on. The colors of it, colors of the trees, just a great timing of it compared to the trees are kind of meh here. The shrubbery's kind of meh here. Hot tub's not even open in this photo. And so it made such a huge difference. And the quality of the photos can change so much because people then see wow. Like if you see this photo, you're like, that's cool, but it's not wow. This photo is wow. And yeah, Andrew, as he mentioned in the comments, this photo and the photography from this particular property, Andrew absolutely crushed. And so, and again, it's a mix of Andrew's and probably what was before, as most of the properties are. A lot of times different seasons, different times, we'll put different photos in from different people. But there's this photo in particular was just a wow moment. It's actually so much so that when I saw it, I didn't even recognize it because I was there kind of in this time of year when it was kind of meh looking outside, and then seeing the photo, it was incredible. Some of the things we like to do is if you do have some spaces where there's multiple things, to kind of do this collage in Canva of pool table, sitting area, ping pong table, and kind of see the games in the background. Just trying to get more information on one photo instead of using up the space for multiple photos. Nights with incredible skies. Obviously, when you have mountain properties, this is a cooler type way to display that type of property as opposed to like the beach where you're not going to get that type of like sky and a beach necessarily, but you'll get some incredible clouds. And there's some photos in here that are trying to be swapped out. Some, Christmas stuff that needs to be swapped because we're not quite there, even though it's about time to put those back in. But just having things staged, and again, here's one of those times where we'll show what's in drawers, what's not in drawers, game tables, cool staging elements like, having the beans and a cup of coffee made, and just little things like that kind of highlight it. And so I really want to talk about, and I want to highlight before we close down today, is how much just a good photo can impact the difference in a property. Swapping out the photos for this property drastically changed bookings for us. We got an increase in bookings, so much so that this has become almost the leading, if not is the leading, I have to look at the numbers, property from fall of last year and even into this year's property's been absolutely crushing it, where it was kind of middle of the pack in the portfolio before. But little things that make a difference, things like the staging, making sure the hot tub's open, that the fire's on, that there's food out, that it looks like someone's staying there, because we want to envision how they would stay there. Things like making sure, let me go back to here, making sure that photos are bright. That makes such a huge difference of that they're bright and not dark, that they have color to them. That will go back to this one from Zach's property, that it feels like it's well lit, that even these bunks don't feel like they're dark or in a dungeon or in some other side room, that it just feels like the space that it is. Keeping things light and bright, it just makes things look really, really good. And then don't forget the storytelling aspect of all of this, that we're trying to draw people in, and little things like this. I love this picture because it highlights the story aspect of, you can almost see the kids swimming, coming up after a while, grabbing a sandwich, grabbing some fruit, having a bite to eat. Everyone's kind of exhausted after, a day out on the beach, a day in the pool. And this is right before everyone grabs a bite and then goes takes a nap before you go back out again, that kind of thing. And so it's just the way that you tell stories through photos, through the images, and how much of a difference that impact can make for a property. And it really just makes such a massive difference to it. And so I really wanted to highlight the photography of properties. It's something we talk about a lot. It's something that we kind of glance over of like, yes, you should have good photography, but what makes good photography? What's the difference between a meh photo and a really, really good photo or an awesome photo? So hopefully you guys got some of that today. Look through some of the examples of the way that, we stage things, the way we set things up, the way that we try and do the look and feel of a property to get it to feel as good as possible. And then we constantly update. We're making changes to properties all the time. That's why you saw in like Lodge 93, you actually had 3 phases of before the barrel sauna, after the barrel sauna, and then after the geodesic dome. So as we're updating, we'll keep adding photos. We change photos out by seasons. Sometimes they get stuck in there. I guess I need to go update the Elk Lodge and remove some of the Christmas ones because they're not really, they're not that time of year, even though we're getting close to when we would put Christmas ones back into the fold. But having the different seasons, having different times of year, having the different options to rotate in, out, and use to really drive bookings for your property. So hope you guys learned a lot today. As always, catch you guys on Mondays. We love talking topics. I'm going to talk next Monday on some Facebook ads. I'm going to do a really quick dive into kind of what we do Facebook ad wise, how we do some targeting, and why we use Facebook ads, for example, as opposed to the other platforms or other ways to do different types of marketing. So I'll see you guys next week, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you all.